And what we're essentially trying to do here is just understand who are our winners, what are their stories, what are all about, who do they like, and what is their Formula One journey, and more importantly, just how did they do so well in this Grand Prix prediction competition that we had this year. As always, folks, my name is Samuel Aurora. I'll be a host for today, but let's start out with our winners. Devik, firstly, I'll begin with you. Welcome to Pits to Podium. How did it
Thank
go,
you.
man, this year? Good predictions towards the very end. What was your journey with
Uh,
Formula One like on the whole? How did you begin watching this great, beautiful sport?
um, Originally, wasn't really into racing as such until I went to one of my friend's house, and there his father was watching. So
Hmm.
since then, I've been into it.
Nice.
Um,
And you seem
yeah.
to come a long way since then. I mean, predicting so well and everything.
I mean, yeah, it's been an interesting year this year. The season was interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
And when did you start watching? Was it, say, around when Sebastian Vettel was winning or something? Say around 2010, 11, there
No,
or
no.
thereabout?
2017 is when I started
Ah,
watching.
nice.
So not too late. I mean, yeah. But,
Hmm. And I I heard that your favorite driver is Sebastian. Probably that's why you're wearing the pink shirt that we have today,
um,
going to next year.
in the spirit of Force India, which will become into um, Aston Martin.
And
Um, yeah.
and what's the journey with Seb been like, man? Because Seb, ever since he started watching, he's just sadly been on a bit of a decline. Do you think he'll do somewhat of a better job next year? And what is it about
I mean,
Seb that hooks you on to him? I mean,
I like his personality a lot. Like he's like fully dedicated toward whatever he does, and I hope he has a good season and gets a car he deserves.
absolutely, we all like Seb deep down. But what about you, Anirudh? Who's your favorite driver? And how did your F1 journey come about initially?
It is quite interesting how I started with the F1. So I started watching from 2012 Singapore Grand Prix. That was my first race which I started to watch. And actually, I wanted to follow the whole season from 2011, but because of the 11th or 12th exams, I couldn't. But yeah,
Ah,
after I didn't fully start to follow the race in 2012. When I started, the whole follow up was in 2013 to be exact.
hmm.
So yeah, since then I'm following F1.
And let me guess, you're another
And
Sebastian
yeah,
Vettel
Seb
fan,
fan
aren't you?
again.
It's just something with
Yeah,
that
I feel
period,
like
isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like Kimi in the paddock. Seriously, every one of you guys are so young, and I'm like the oldest guy here. You are all like kids.
Subia, then how did it go about for you? When did you start watching Formula One? And
Actually,
what?
the thing is, actually, I have one of the. I think I have one of the weirdest ways of starting to watch Formula One because everybody I think would have accidentally seen a race or they would have encountered something or such. Mine was exactly the other way around. I started with the newspapers. You know, like when
Ah,
in school, like you start to read newspapers. At those times, the internet was not that big a thing. Actually, there was no internet, to be honest. You only have to wait and watch it on the TV, and that too on a 360 pixel on a those cams those times. So when you go through the paper, you keep hearing one name. Of course, in 2003, there is only one name that you keep hearing,
yes.
Schumacher. Yeah. Okay. Then you see like that like you love the sounds, the V10. You absolutely love the V10s. You hear it just once. You have to look at the race. You cannot just switch it off and you can't go. Right.
Exactly.
You start watching for Schumacher, and I ended up staying in F1, like loving F1 because of Kimi. The McLaren days, the absolutely beautiful car. The 2003 and 4, the car was the McLaren was amazing, right? It's only
Yeah.
the reliability that screwed Kimi over, absolutely. So you start there, follow Kimi. Then Alonso's 2 years were also absolutely mind-boggling. But at that time, like I'm so old that at that time that was when I was doing my higher secondary. So not much of exposure. The odd race where you see the highlights of Schumacher being overtaken by Alonso and all those stuff that
Yeah.
still keeps your interest going through those years. Then comes Hamilton. You see him like one of the more memorable moments is at that time I was doing my undergraduation, and we had to sneak out and go to watch races and
Wow.
all. the friends' houses and all that, because late night races we have, right? And the
Yeah,
hostels, they expect to be there in at certain time and all that. So we used to say all kind of things and go watch it in friends' houses and all. Of course, at that medical college, it's a little bit. I'm a doctor, so medical college, it's a little bit. It's you get to go out, not much of monitoring and such,
yeah,
but still. So you see the Hamilton versus Alonso fights and all that. I still remember Hamilton coming, finishing out of the podium places in his ninth race or something, I guess, and he not knowing where to go because he has never finished outside of the podium during his first nine races. So a lot of
exactly.
memorable things. So this sort of kept up the interest. But the true season where I was able to fully, devote my entire time, watch everything, the quali races and all that for every race was 2009.
Hmm.
And of course, that year is something that you would never forget. Braun, Button coming
Yeah,
into his own, Barrichello getting his recognition that he never got during his Ferrari years. And I used to like Barrichello also. I feel that if he was like anywhere else other than with Schumacher, he could have even been a champion on his own. But then that is the rate. That's the cost with all the goats, right? They
exactly,
tend to overshadow their teammates, like what we are seeing with Valtteri and Hamilton today. Like any other racing series, any other place, Valtteri could have been a champion, or he could have been like multiple race winner, or so he could have achieved something. But because he's partnered with Hamilton, we know that
exactly,
his entire career will be overshadowed. Yeah. So that is
exactly.
how this is how it went. Then Sebastian Vettel's era came. It dropped off a little. I did my post graduation, no time to follow. So once I finished my post graduation, then came the Merc dominance.
Yeah.
Yeah, still going, I guess.
Still going pretty strong. And what would be your favorite Formula One moment, Subhaya? Would it be the 2007 championship victory when you were just briefly following, or was it Abu Dhabi 2012 when Kimi just burst out the best score in the history of Formula One?
2012, Abu Dhabi. No, no, no doubt, no doubt. See, any Kimi fan, I guess that's going to be the moment, the favorite moment, and nothing else. Of
Ah,
course.
what a line, wasn't it? Just leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. Classic.
See, with the Ferrari in 2007, you kind of expected Kimi to be there, right? You
Hmm,
kind of knew he had a chance. But with the Lotus win was something completely unexpected. Like you knew the car was sort of capable, but as a Kimi fan, you sort of think, okay, he's out of the field. He has went into the other fields. He's not going to be back. No more Kimi victories. Then you think Lotus, okay, he may get an odd podium or such. No more Kimi wins. Then comes a Kimi win, and that is what I guess is like explosive for any Kimi fan, and it still makes me
absolutely.
smile. Yeah.
Anirudh, what about you? What would be your favorite Formula One moment per se in all these years that you've watched the sport?
Uh, I don't know what particular, but one moment was, as Subhaya told, it would be obviously the Abu Dhabi GP, because actually I was there in the Autocar performance show in Mumbai. I think it was
Wow.
2012. Yeah, I was returning back and I couldn't watch the race. Yeah, so I called up my friend and just wanted to know who's the leader of the race. So my friend told it's Kimi. I was shocked. What? It's not. It couldn't be Kimi. He said, yeah, it's Kimi. I came back. I watched the whole highlights. I found out, okay, that's when I heard that famous thing coming up. Leave me alone.
The
Yeah,
entire
that
race was
was
one
real
highlight
fun
shoot.
that day.
The
Exactly.
Yeah,
most
yeah,
iconic
it was actually.
line ever.
The most iconic by far and away. Seriously. That's just Kimi 4. You're still going strong over even at the age of 40. Mind blowing person. But Derek, what about you? Any special stories that Formula One has created in your life per se, as such?
Um, Not really. I mean, I do love that one moment in 2018 Monza Grand Prix
Oh
qualifying,
yes.
where Kimi just came out of nowhere with the 119 time.
Yeah.
Well,
Fastest lap in the history of Formula
yeah.
One. Still,
Uh, at that moment, I was at my friend's house, we were all just chilling, and suddenly that thing, my God, still,
it
yeah.
just creates the perfect essence, isn't it? We're all big Kimi fans. We just can't help it. It's just the nature of Kimi Raikkonen, the
It's
personality
a
that
free
he has,
pass.
and
I, I think Kimi fan is being like it's a free pass. Like everybody's
it
like,
is
okay, you like Kimi. What next? You can
exactly.
just go with that.
I
Kimi
mean,
is like
if
a standard fan. everyone.
Exactly. You just can't hate Kimmy, right? You just can't look at Kimmy and say, "Nah, I don't like you." Everyone loves Kimmy. If it's just who Kimi Raikkonen is, just laid back. That's all we all want to be deep down. Although we may not eventually say it, but man, what a story he's had. But coming back to this year, guys, that this year clearly was one of the most unpredictable ones in probably the most recent in the past few decades of Formula One, because we saw wet
2012, I guess.
races.
2012, I guess.
Yeah,
After 2012,
2012
I
was
think.
quite a fun one as well. And then
After
this
that,
year
I
we
think it
had
was like
rain, we had a midfield team winning as well twice. We saw drivers just getting away from literally life-threatening accidents and whatnot. And still, you guys managed to get the predictions better than everyone else. Now, Subbia, we'll start with you because you finished P1 in the competition. How? Yeah, was there any particular tip or trick that you used throughout the season just to get your way up ahead? Because there was so much drama going on. We clearly couldn't do anything at Pits To Podium. All of us who work here, we literally got all of our predictions wrong throughout the season.
the thing is, I guess it's more about like I know a little bit more about the drivers. I've been following them for a longer time,
Hmm.
and I think this year the drivers made all the difference. Of course, Mercedes running off with the title is a completely different thing, but the other teams anywhere down below,
Hmm.
every single difference was made by the driver, their preference, which like which kind of track they do well at, and all that.
Yeah.
So that helped me a little bit, but then I think Samuel will know that I got like a lot of things, like all like if the races were not as crazy as they were, I think I would have gone into the lead a little bit much earlier. I predicted a Russell Bottas
Yep.
Verstappen
Yep.
in Sakir, I think. A lot of things I predicted, but then because of the crazy races we had, I had to like till the last I was a little bit down. But then I'll take that any day of the year than having boring predictable races.
Exactly.
So I would hope to be wrong more often if we can get a season like 2020.
Hopefully.
And
Fingers crossed for next year.
one thing I was very confident about was the McLarens. I had like supreme confidence in them. I thought they will definitely do well, much better than the Racing Points in the Abu Dhabi, and I think that made the difference
Hmm.
in the predictions.
Anirudh, what about you? Who's your money on primarily? Who's that one team or driver that you backed that gave you the most points, essentially?
To be very fair, I felt a little bit bad that even in the fantasy league, I had to take out Vettel from the whole league. I backed only Verstappen and Hamilton. So yeah, that was one thing. And the second thing, first of all, congratulations to Subaya to win, because my last prediction I did a bad thing that I couldn't. I didn't select McLaren. I instead went for Renault. So there the whole difference came about. But throughout the whole season, I didn't expect McLaren to be strong, but it was a very surprise turnout. And last year, when Daniel signed to Renault, and looking back to last year and this year, I didn't feel that Renault would make the progress. But during the preseason tests with updates which they came with the nose and the other stuffs which they came about,
Hmm.
was quite refreshing to see Renault in that step which they are going forward with. And even in the Austria, how they proved about to be quick, and in other tracks also how they proved about it was good to watch to Renault step
Yeah.
ahead. And in fact, the Racing Point controversy was interesting in the beginning, but then when they started to do their own development with their own side pod designs and everything, it came about. It became very interesting towards the last part of the season, where the three teams started to battle out between themselves. It was a very close
Yes.
battle, in fact. And the surprise point was every 1 or 2 races, Gasly would also peek in. So it was a very confusing thing to who to choose as the best driver or the best of the rest teams, because being 6-7 drivers at that lot, it's really difficult to pick up who you could pick it up. But
Exactly.
basically for me, it was the whole team's performance. Looking at how they were performing is what I went about. So yeah.
Oh, it was crazy, wasn't it? I mean, I just recently watched
Yeah.
back a few of our pre-race preview videos on Pitch to Podium, and I literally was smiling from ear to ear, not because of what we did, but just because of the excitement that we had about this, about where would Racing Point finish, where would Renault finish, where would McLaren go. Lovely, lovely towards the very end. What about you, Devik? Clearly, you're a Seb fan, but Seb wasn't the driver to put the money on this year. Who did you bet on the most, and how did you
Um,
finish in P3 eventually?
Actually, finishing in P3, I did not expect it, because in the towards the end, in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, I thought I kind of messed up,
Hmm.
but it turned out to go well. Definitely, Mercedes were the one who had to go for. They were like um, compulsory, like they're the ones who will get you the points.
Exactly.
And the only confusing part was best of the rest, and that's what I think was for everyone. So yeah.
It's awesome, isn't it? Just to have those sort of unpredictable races is the best part. I mean, everyone was guessing, everyone was on their toes, and that's what makes for a really fun season. But 2020 is over. We're getting big changes for 2021. Sergio Perez is coming to Red Bull Racing. I'd like to get your thoughts on that, folks. Devik, we'll start with you. Do you think it's a good move, or would Albon be better in that case?
Nah, definitely a good move. I mean, considering Albon's performances, I mean, he isn't up to the mark for Red Bull at least.
Hmm.
I feel Gasly was doing better, although he didn't get a podium, but he was consistently better than Albon.
Hmm.
And actually, I already knew that Perez would go for it. I mean, they would take Perez because I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely a good move in my opinion. Yeah.
And what about you, Anirudh? Do you think it'll work out in the long run with the whole Red Bull Mexico kind of merger? They want to go to a bigger market and just having that competition to Max, which they were missing since Daniel.
Exactly. From my point of view, I think neither Gasly or Albon they were good drivers, but the first thing is you are going up against Max, so that's very difficult.
Yeah.
First of all, but the thing is, more than Gasly, I think Albon was better, and Red Bull also eventually gave him the time to get alongside with Max and to adjust with the car. But the basic thing is what you have to understand about Red Bull and Ferrari have their concept and their approach is now towards Max and Leclerc only. So they are developing the car towards them. So it is difficult for any driver who is going against Max to adapt to the same car. So that is, and Albon has shown the flashes of pace which Gasly couldn't in the same car. I wouldn't blame Albon for this sort of thing which has happened to him, but I think with Perez coming inside, I think it's now Red Bull is clearly they are focusing on the constructors now, and
Hmm.
I don't know if he is going to be the second driver for Red Bull, which is if he is going to play the second role to Max, or is he going to go for it? But I think in terms of Perez, Perez has consistently improved a lot from McLaren's exit. During the time of McLaren, he was there. He was. They thought he was mature enough, but he couldn't. He was not adapting because obviously there was Ron Dennis team which was working. But as soon as he moved into Force India, as he got developed and last year became a very consistent driver, I think it's good to have. And it will be we can only see from 2021 if he is going to put Max on his toes and if he is going to give a run. So it will be very interesting to see what Perez can do with the Red Bull.
And Subaya, Honda are committing maximum resources for 2021 because it's, of course, their last year before they go out. Do you reckon that somewhere Red Bull might finally have a chance against Mercedes? They're the big opposition, right? They're the big Ferrari from the 2000s where nobody seems to be competing against them. Do you think we're going to see that chance with two Red Bull cars instead of one finally?
I think the answer to that is not that quite simple. I think we have to go back to the days of Ricciardo and seeing what he has done with Renault. We can see no, we know how important he is to development of the car. And I think the past 2 years, the car has been tricky to drive just because of the absence of Ricciardo not giving a feedback, right?
Hmm.
If we see the last year's car, Albon just jumped inside and he drove it absolutely well, right? The Gasly and Albon are a little bit of more specific drivers. Gasly needs a planted front end with more. He brakes more before the corners than going into the corners, whereas Albon needs a planted rear end and he brakes late into the corner. That is like similar to how Ricciardo brakes.
Hmm.
So the 2019 car was basically developed in tandem with both Max and Ricciardo. and that ended in him, the Albon, getting a car which he liked to drive, right? But this year's car, the 2020 car, was purely developed by Max, and Max is, I feel, more adaptable to any car you give him. It can have a non-planted car, it may
Yeah.
be a very tricky to drive car. The grip may not be all there, but he'll still drive it. That's the mark of any great driver. But we cannot expect the second driver or somebody else to also have those same. If you suppose you put Hamilton in the car, I feel he can drive it as well as Max can do. And that, of course, we know Hamilton is one of the greats of all time. But you cannot expect every driver to be at the same level. So
Yeah.
I think majority of the issues that Red Bull have with this car, the 2020 car, and subsequently the carryover 2021 car, will be that of a car that is not planted anywhere. We saw Verstappen crash on his way to the grid. It was such a tricky car to drive. That has never happened. You know that even we know the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix, how he spun and he didn't put it in the
Yeah.
wall, right? So he's that good a driver, and if he is struggling with the car to find the grip, we can't expect anybody else to do that. I think Perez will be important in the team for the 2022 car and not for the 2021 season as such, because having such a varied point of view from somebody who has been in McLaren, been in Racing Point, Force India, and helped develop a car over their own resources. Like Perez has always had a car which is beyond their own budget, be it Force India or Racing Point, right?
Hmm.
It's a car that has done better than its budget. So that will be useful to Red Bull. Rather than mounting a championship challenge in 2021, I think Red Bull are aiming towards 2022. And for that, Perez will be the best. And that is why I think the biggest blunder that Red Bull has done in the past decade is losing Ricciardo, and even before that, losing Sainz. Both of
Hmm.
them would have been very good in developing a stable car rather than a Verstappen machine.
Hmm. That's a very fair point, you know. It should be very, very fun to see how this plays out. But, folks, just before we go, lastly, what is that one thing that you're most excited about? I mean, Subaya gave us a good idea about what it could be with Red Bull and their whole driver development, the characteristics of the car. Anything else that excites you, folks? Subaya, we'll start with you because you came back on the last point. What is it apart from Red Bull? Is it perhaps Sebastian Vettel and Aston Martin? Maybe that fresh environment giving him a fresh start?
Three things excite me for 2022 actually,
Mhm.
rather than 21. One is Aston Martin getting Vettel to help them with the development. One. Second is McLaren taking sure planted steps every year. And third is, I think Sainz and Leclerc in Ferrari definitely will develop a championship winning car, help them develop a championship winning car. So all these people settling into their teams before they start development of their car, I think this will be the most exciting thing to happen to Formula One. I think since 2000s, the Mika Häkkinen Schumacher rivalry. Since then, I
Hmm.
think this should be the most interesting thing happening in Formula One. Let's hope for that.
And Anirudh, is it Mick Schumacher that excites you the most, or is it, say, something about maybe even the midfield? We could see McLaren with the new Mercedes engine coming up.
I think apart from the Mercedes factory team, I think every other team is going to be exciting to watch in 2021 and for the going into 2022,
Hmm.
because you have Perez and Verstappen who are going to co-develop the car for 2022 and how it's going to play out. The second thing is how Leclerc and Sainz are going to go head to head with against themselves, and how Ferrari is going to give the treatment towards both their drivers, because as we all know, Sainz is a very quick driver, but how
Yeah.
easily he's going to adapt or how quickly it's going to adapt to the Ferrari is what matters. And not to leave out Renault, because Alonso has got a fair amount of mileage in the 2018 car, so which is the base of
Hmm.
the 2019 chassis. So that is going to be very interesting. He has got the pre-knowledge of how the car behaves and how he is going to take up the whole team to a new level for 2022 coming in. And yeah, again, McLaren, they are following the strategies of they are just going with how they are going to go, and they are getting the millions coming in from all the shareholders.
Yes.
So that's going to be interesting how they are going to go about it. And they have Daniel, so that's the most important thing because he has the knowledge of
Exactly.
Renault. He has the knowledge of Renault and how he is going to give all the inputs what he has got from Renault, from Red Bull into the McLaren. So that's going to be really helpful for them. And again, coming to Toro Rosso, they are no more the sister concern team of Red Bull. So now they are an individual team. So there is no more competition. no more into that synergy. It's going to be interesting how they are going to put forward their car into the midfield and how they are going to go about it. And lastly, again, Williams. So they have shown the improvement, and I hope they are there between the top 5, top 6. Only thing which was little bit a setback for Haas, what I feel personally, is they have got 2 new rookie drivers. They have no one to develop the car. They have lost Romain and as well as Magnussen. Both are damn good drivers in developing the car. But the thing is, how they are going to go into 2022 with the development of the car is the big question now. But obviously, they are going to be quick as hell between the midfield drivers. That's for sure. The thing is, how the
Absolutely.
development is going to go is what the question is for them. So yeah, and Aston Martin, obviously, no questions. You have Vettel. I would not expect any results to come as soon as the 2021 begins, but it's going to be a long process for Vettel. It's a new project for him. How he is going to go about it and how the refreshing the environment is for him, and obviously the whole team is the Jordan team, so he also knows the connection
Exactly.
to them. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see the 2021 and how it is going to go into 2022 is the most interesting part in that.
Agreed. Agreed. David, what about you?
I don't really have much to say. I feel Subaya and Anirudh just put all the points perfectly. Um, I'm actually very excited for 2022. New regulations, budget cuts. That's going to be really interesting.
Absolutely. We all can't wait. But 2021 comes first. Alonso coming back, Schumacher back on the grid. The Alpine name comes in. You see Ricciardo going to McLaren, Perez to Red Bull Racing, Vettel to Aston Martin. So many major changes. Yeah, there's Mazepin coming in too, but we let that slide away. But that, folks, is what 2021 is going to be. Daivik, Subbaya, Anirudh, thank you so much for being a part of this video, and many, many congratulations on finishing in the top 4 in the Pitch to Podium Grand Prix prediction competition. If you're wondering, folks, how you can take part, we're going to have this competition starting out next year as well. All the rules, all the regulations, how you can participate, and what there is to win will be on our social media platforms. The links to that will be down below. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and see you on another Pitch to Podium special. Bye bye.